president is overdue. Secondly, some of us have been saying this for a very long time. We don't have any other country except Nigeria. If we can sit down and allow the country to be undermined, to be sacrificed, our children, our grandchildren will continue to pay for it. And I was one of those who conceded to the fact that politicians are very wicked, are very treacherous to their own country. You just brought archives, records of fluctuation of our currencies from military regime to where we are today. If you analyze the dates and the frequency of the fluctuation of the currencies from one administration to the other, and if you summarize it down the line, along the line of patriotism, commitment to the nationhood, you will discover that there is more discipline during military regime, there's more patriotism during military regime, there's more protectionism during military regime of the nation called Nigeria. The level of corruption was very high compared to what we are having today. You mentioned from 1999 to date is the worst period that we have ever gone through in terms of fluctuation of our currency. And again, there was no name we have not called military regimes. They are corrupt, they are unpatriotic, they don't want the country to develop. Now, military regime after military regime, if you look at the economic blueprint of civilian government, it's completely detached to the reality on ground and to the general citizens who believe that the government must lay a platform, must lay a foundation to enhance the economic viability, the purchasing power of Nigerians. Rather, we are going down virtually year in, year out. If you look at the entire processes, who are those at the helm of affairs that determine how things are being run? They are the politicians. They are the drivers. They are the decision makers, particularly the executive arm of the government that control almost 70% of the processes of governance in Nigeria. And if you take it administration after administration, you look at the greed associated to that administration, the number, the quantum of looting of public treasury, and the lack of deterrence associated to those administrations, you just weep. You know, in a government that is well established, well elected across the three strata of the government, the executive, legislature, and the judiciary, in a day, a currency will be fluctuating 3 or 4 times in just one day, just in a gap of hours. And we believe that we have a government elected by the people and for that is democracy, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, the entire process have brought the country to its knees. You cannot virtually buy anything. On an average, if you look at the bag of a maize, which is the cheapest food to an ordinary people, is 60,000 naira per bag as of today. Then the local rice that we process, which the federal government of President Muhammadu Buhari and then this government injected billions or trillions in rice production. You cannot even find the rice. A bag of a rice now that have 80 measures or 100 measures is over 100,000. How can an average person survive? We were having peace before simply because majority of people have food to cook at home. Even if the food is not sweet, they have something to cook and eat and feed their family. But today is not available. There's no way you can prevent crime and criminality. There's no way you can prevent rampage. There's no way you can prevent the inability of the security to cope the crime. Because the ability of security agencies to bring crime and criminality under control also deal with the psyche of Nigerians, how comfortable or uncomfortable they are, whether they have justice or no justice at all. These are accumulative forces and factors that led us to where we are today. And whenever you draw the attention of the government, the sycophants around the power that be try to completely paint with a very terrible color. I could remember vividly the former chief of staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, at one time during the Federal Executive Council meeting, people were complaining that things are getting bad, foodstuff are getting higher, things, stuff like that. I was listening to him saying that it was a lie, that there are sufficient food everywhere in Nigeria. There is no hunger in Nigeria. But the foundation of where we are today, at the terrible level, started during the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. And of course, this government took over a government that was on its knees. The economy was completely on its knees. The security was overstretched. The allowance of the security agencies was extremely very low. I was so happy when the Chief of Defense Staff went to the National Assembly and said that it's not obtainable. The allowances and the salaries that they are giving to the security personnel that are in the field, sacrificing their life for the country to live. And I also heard the Inspector General of Police, when he visited Plateau State, he was saying that even the criminals knows that we don't have the manpower. And then you look at what are the indices of manpower. Can the government develop the manpower or not? They can't. You have paramilitary institutions all over the place. You have the civil defense, you have the road safety, you have the immigration, you have the customs, you have other security agencies. The government can develop manpower by training them into combatant officers, because our challenges are changing, the dynamics are shifting. And if the dynamics are shifting, the non-state actors are challenging the state. The state will produce manpower to deal with crime and criminalities. I admit to the fact that there's a global recession going on. But when there's a global recession, you must have a government that have a team of economic managers that are very strict in their mathematics, to define how the government can navigate through difficult situations. This is what led us to where we are. The government of today inherited a collapsed system, but they lack a team that understands the changing dynamics of what Nigeria is going through. And they lack the capacity to generate advice and make it operational, to contain the situation. The situation is out of hand already. It's out of hand, as far as it is right now.
All right, Prof, you see, going by what we see on a daily basis and what's going on the streets, because the people on the streets are more than the 10% political class that we have. If you take a look at that, you will observe that people don't visit the medical centers anymore.
Sure.
They don't even go to markets. People have now gone back to the farm. They are not living with the greens. When you are sick, you take agbo, because you can't afford to even buy ampicillin. The money is high. And must everything be tied to the foreign currencies? How do we get out of this? Is there a way out, or we just remain like this? And before you know it, tomorrow they'll say it's 2,000 naira to a dollar.
Let me start with a small allegory that a young man held a bird in his hand and asked an elderly man, "Is this bird dead or alive?" The man thought and said, "Well, if I say the bird is alive, he will squeeze it to death and it will die. But if I say it is dead, he will open up his hand and the blood will..." So the man now said, whether dead or alive, it is in your hand. You see, whether we get it out of it or not, it is in our hands as Nigerians. He has described our situation, and you have added, but there is something I keep repeating, which I learned from one economist, that the job of a social scientist is not to describe a problem, but also to discuss the solution. So while the whole problem has been well outlined, my discussion will revolve around what are the causes and what are the solutions. Solution from two ends, from the demand side of our economy and the supply side. Then what is the general outlook? Now, but let me react to one or two things that the chairman said about the military. I will say also that they ask a K-legged man, that's a knock-knee man, why is the load you are carrying on your head so bent? He said, you are only looking at the top. You are not looking below. The very foundation of the destruction of our values is the military. You see, because if you want to take people on slavery, if you want to destroy people, take away their values. What is important to them? That's why recently when the government said they want to do value reorientation, that is a major thing where we should start. Genuinely, not the fake religiosity that we are all practicing. You see, we can all pretend as if it is they, rather than it is us. We have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we are Nigerians. We are the one causing this thing, and we have the capacity to get out of it. What are the causes? Let me mention a few. The first major, you see, it has been growing over time. But the major trigger for this situation is the double whammy of removing fuel subsidy and floating the NAIRA. That is a double. I have been anti-tomorrow since Obasanjo days. I've been a strong supporter of removal of subsidy, petroleum subsidy. Anti-tomorrow, I would think is one of the best decisions this country can ever take. And it needs courage to take it. So when the decision was taken, it's like using your two legs to kick a stubborn goat. And that's why the ass of the NAIRA is on the floor. By doing the two simultaneously, it's too heavy decision. And what is now the tragedy? You have chased two rats at a time. You cannot catch the two. One, the NAIRA exchange rate, the gap is still there, 500. The gap that was there before is around that 400, 500. So the idea is if you close it up, float it, that arbitrage will not be there. Unfortunately, because of the double whammy, we cannot, that is still hanging. We are not achieving the closure, the removal of the arbitrage in the. Then secondly, the fuel subsidy that we aim to remove is still now hanging. It's not totally removed. So, because if we had achieved one, like fuel subsidy, without adding, and we were managing the NAIRA, as at that time, the price of fuel would have been completely deregulated. There would have been private importers. They would have started having the advantages of the pain of removal of subsidy. Now, we have the pain, we could not get the gain. Because the gap is still there, NNPC remained the only importer of petroleum. So we are neither here nor there. So that is the biggest major cause. It has been growing. But when you now say escalation of the whole thing, those two decisions are too heavy.
So would you say that whoever advised this administration didn't advise them properly?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the thinking is let me remove this corruption in the forex market,
yes,
and remove the arbitrage in the foreign exchange market and the corruption and stealing in the fuel subsidy. Now, taking the two together is the crisis. I mean, taking a loan, like for example, if fuel subsidy were taken head on, a loan, then we stabilize on it, and we are sure that we can get things stabilized, then you can now start tweaking the NAIRA. Well, that is my reading of it. Then the second thing is that, you see, we are a consumption nation. We are not producing.
Yes.
And any nation that is at that level, there is no magic about it. Whoever is the president will face this problem. So we have to find a way, but at the bottom of lack of productivity and many other issues is number one is insecurity.
Yeah.
Because the farmer cannot go to the farm, the student cannot go to school, the economy cannot thrive where there is global insecurity. And I got because I've not seen anything fundamental that this government has done about this insecurity. Because when Tinubu was campaigning, and that's why they nicknamed me Alagbado, he said I will recruit 5 million boots on the ground, put them everywhere. What will they be eating? Agbado, cassava. What are you doing 9 months or almost a year? The election was February. We are in February. I've not seen anything. I've been seeing Buhari model of calling the military officers. Hey, you must go after them. No stone unturned. Bring them to book. Bring them to port. Bring them to the same template. It's now time to call for. And the National Assembly said it. There must be a national summit on security. They were declaring state of emergency in Agric. How can you declare state of emergency in Agric when people cannot go to the farm?
To the farm.
So, insecurity is number one now. For me, the price of things are top, the price of this are top. That is, you are still alive. If you are one of the children kidnapped the other day, you will just be praying to get out, not to say that the price of Panadol is high. So these are major problem that we are tackling. Then two, you see, the way we are trading our naira and dollar. Because let me tell you, our attitude is a serious problem. Because it feeds into itself. It's a perception problem. When people think naira will fall, naira will fall. All of us believe it will continue to fall for that. So we are making our preparation is, how do I save $1 or $2 to keep it in my house? Because the price will appreciate. So the speculators are having a field day.
Yes, is it.
So it's a negative opinion feeding on itself. So these are then our culture of having to think what is from abroad is better than ours. That's why we never refuse to put the legs of the National Assembly people on fire for sticking to buying 160 million Toyota Prado Jeep rather than go to Innocent, go to Ijebu Ode, buy Amoka. These are little sacrifice everybody must make, including me, including you. That look, rather than buy this foreign thing, I will buy what is Nigeria. If we don't go about that, there must be now a massive campaign.
Okay,
Because in India, I will say this and I will stop.
Yes.
In Gandhi, when India was facing, although that was small concerning me, comparing to what we are
facing now.
He said, if Indians cannot wear what they weave, they were weaving their clothes in loom. Let India go naked.
Prof, I will come back to ask you a question. When you talk about made in Nigerian product, do we even have them? Because when you weave clothes, we used to have clothes, the industries in Nigeria before, but we don't have them again. Everything we do in this country now, we must depend on raw materials from the foreign land. So it's a big challenge. Let me come to you, Chairman, sir. I know, you know, and we know that the nexus between high cost of living and security or welfare of the people is high. It's just close. Because when people can't afford to feed, to live, insecurity is rife. These other young ones will take to the guns. So how do we bridge it?
Well, you know that we must always tell ourselves the bitter truth. We may differ in our perceptions and understanding of issues. Just like my elder, the prof, have said here. You know, I believe that the military have their shortfall. Okay. But if you look at the advantage and disadvantage, they have more advantage than disadvantage. There's no perfection anywhere. No government is perfect anywhere on earth. Some of the most superpower countries on earth were ruled by military regime at the initial stage. Now, if you come back to what you have enumerated about the subsidy, some of us have canvassed this issue of subsidy time and over time. If you look at the campaign, if you reverse back to the campaign of President Muhammadu Buhari, when this issue of subsidy at the forefront, he campaigned on 4 things. One, the insecurity, when those Chibok girls were on international stage, virtually everywhere. He campaigned on subsidy. He said he was the Federal Commissioner of Petroleum. There was nothing like subsidy. It was a fraud. He was going to remove it. Now, and other issues of the economy and so on and
corruption.
so forth. And corruption. Corruption is one of them. Now, if you look at the indices of corruption, whether it was contained, whether it was reduced under his regime, is there in our national archives. The records are there. But what is interesting to me, this former president was in power for 8 years. And in that 8 years, what he called a fraud, he did not remove it. That is a subsidy. Committee was set up, led by former Minister of Finance, Ngozi. And it was established that there was nothing like subsidy. Largely, it was fraud. The report was submitted. They did nothing about it. They just left it the way it was. I believe every nation must allow its citizens to benefit from what is endowed in that country. Yes, if there was a subsidy, citizens needed to know who are those that have been paid subsidy. We tried to find out who are the beneficiaries of this subsidy, what are the payment system. There was no any record to suggest. The biggest cartel Nigeria have ever had is NNPC, followed by CBN. And government after government, they will come out with whatever story that will step on toes.
Yeah.
On whose toes are you going to step to solve the problem? The toes you're supposed to step on, you run away from them.
Though they step on perceived enemies.
Passive enemies.
Yes.
Like some of us that are saying, look, you are going the wrong way. Do the right thing for the country to be safe. And then, apart from that, the associated factors and analysis they have put on the doorstep of everybody is that once you remove this subsidy, there will be low-hanging fruit everywhere. You can just use your mouth and get a fruit and just chew it. Subsidy was removed.
Was subsidy actually removed?
I don't believe really there was even subsidy, because the same government, even last week or 2 weeks ago, says that those that were benefiting from the subsidy is less than 1% of 1%.
Oh.
And then they say they have saved billions of naira. Where do they invest that billions of naira or trillions as a result of the subsidy? Now the fuel consumption have dropped. And that is why you don't see a lot of traffic on the street now. People cannot afford to fuel their cars, not to talk of any other thing. What is priority in every family now is food.
Yep.
That is what is priority. And then we used to produce food. We used to feed African countries food. Before the crisis of Maiduguri, Benin, where Cotonou, you see hundreds of trailers supplying food to neighboring countries. Where is it today? We are struggling to feed our population. Population is not a bad thing for a country. It's a plus if you use it positively. But when you mismanage a population, you cannot feed a population, it will turn against the country. What we are having today, the insecurity we are having today, the age levels you are looking at 15, 17, 18, 20 years, committing one of the heinous crime, kidnapping, killing, and maiming, orphans everywhere. What happened? What led to that? Was it not failure of leadership? Absolutely failure of leadership. From the federal to the state to the local government. The third tier of local government that ought to have managed issues that will limit migration is absent, the local government. Governors are responsible for spreading insecurity and poverty all over the place. You can't find government, even in a local government, not to talk of a community. So how do you expect a nation of over 250 million, and with a police force that is less than 400,000, with the army that are overstretched? I don't know any state where there is no deployment of army now because of insecurity. And then the welfare of the state is being compromised. The welfare of those who commit themselves to protect the nation is being compromised. What are we doing with the money? An individual who will steal trillions of naira in this country serving in the executive. And who are the promoters of corruption? It's the executive. Is there any warehouse where people can go and pick money? There's no any warehouse. There must be a process. That process involved government establishment, Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, other directors of finance. Nowhere anybody can steal money without the connivance of the either civil servants or ministers and what have you. Now, no matter how you want to solve the problem, we must agree that it's a collective failure. In as much as certain people take responsibility, the citizens also must know they have voted half back into executive positions who cannot take a decision because they lack the knowledge and the capacity to take decisions. And they have complex of consulting those who have the ideas to advise them on how to come up with policies and programs that will be good for the country. So the entire process was compromised. Nobody will isolate himself from the politicians who are the number one culprits in the system, who take decisions, who prosecute, who arrest, and decide to turn another way, to the institution of judiciary, that determine the outcome of election after a vote has been casted. The ultimate decision makers and determinants are the judiciary. If you are voted legitimately or otherwise, they can decide on your fate. And how much do you pay or find your way to get through? Now, if you look at the National Assembly, he mentioned the issue of vehicles. There's no any sensitive nation on earth that can go into such kind of decision at a period where the nation cannot fit itself. There are parliaments all over the world. American parliament, who is buying vehicles for them? The British parliament, who is buying vehicles for them? They live according to their allowances. Of recent, there are parliaments in the US that have been prosecuted because of money was found in them. Who is investigating how these people that were elected are being reckless with spending, buying properties all over the world, living a life that is full of arrogance, disrespect to the institutions, and we think that it's normal? So we are all culpable, the politicians, the journalists, the professionals, we all compromise. Everybody wants to pack as much as he could without thinking of the consequences. If you look at the insecurity today, nobody is safe. From the people in government, from the executive, to the judiciary, to the legislature, to the we on the street, virtually everybody have been kidnapped in one way or the other. There's no family that is free of kidnapping. My cousin was kidnapped and killed. So we are victim of what we refused to deal with because of sycophancy, because of patronage. We turn our eyes the other way. And that is what we are reaping right now. Okay. And with what we are doing now, and I'm happy that a lot of Nigerians are summoning the courage to come out and speak. The pressure is on the government to look inward and see what they can do.
All right. Prof, you see, you were talking about what we should do to get out of this, that it is a collective responsibility of every Nigerian, not just for government. But when you look at what is going on, an ordinary Nigerian is sad, even if the person does not show it, because we have this nature of smiling and laughing, what the late fella calls suffering and smiling. So that's the way we are built. That's why they said Nigerians are the most happiest people on earth. But we can't continue like this. We should find a solution to this.
Yeah, the normal slogan, which is I would say is the truth, is that we have to organize and stop agonizing. 99% of the times, we are agonizing. We are not organizing. And without organizing, we can't get it done. And that's why I will still disagree with my chairman on the issue of the military. When you are helping some people, even granted that military is good, without conceding, it means they are sustaining people that cannot organize to manage their lives. Because whatever you do to help people, until they are able to help themselves, they are not there yet. But in terms of the military, I will still say, if it is military time, they will be waiting for the two of us at the gate. They won't allow us to go. This one, we can yap them, we can talk to them. Secondly, if you check all the wars in Africa, it's caused by the military. Look at what they've done to Sudan now. Look at what is happening in all the military rule countries. They caused the civil war, the Biafran war. So, for me, I agree they will have their one or two good sides. But for me, on total scale, these people that we are able to, we can call them, I mean, I can talk to Tinubu the way I'm talking because this is democracy. So for me, I will not sacrifice. It is important whether we as a people, we should enjoy democracy as human beings or we are not good enough for democracy.
Is it we or the leadership?
Where does the leadership come from?
It's from we.
It's from we. Let me tell you, there are more thieves outside government than in government. Let a trailer of something falls. Most of the time, you see more people stealing. Now,
but are you sorry?
No, let me not look like. I mean, I'm blaming the victim. But generally, if we think that it's only government that can do it, although government can catalyze, and let me quickly go to that, because I know you don't have all the time in the world, and that's most important to me. I told you there are solutions. Solutions for the NAIRA, Kamika say, what it's doing, it has two sides to it. The demand side and the supply side. You see, on the supply side, we have to do so many things, but let me mention three. First, we have to, and most of them revolve around security. You have to secure Niger and increase our production in order to increase our dollar earning. That is where we can quickly get easy dollar. And it is by stopping those who are stealing our fuel, by securing those places. Then we have to increase our productivity. And also, it depends on the security. And that is why I want this summit that the House of Assembly is doing, let them approve state police.
Okay.
Or, if state police is too much, let them empower the state governors to allow their Amatekun, the one they started in Sanfara,
security
let them be able to carry AK-47. The bandit cannot be carrying AK-49, and our people are carrying Sakabula.
They are not even carrying anything. They are holding stones
is that?
And sticks.
Governor, those people that you will give gun, let us know them. Let us know their grandmother's address, so that we will know these are the people we give guns. So security, increased fuel production in the, then I told you of the national orientation that we must buy Nigeria. Once we are able to do that and ensure that there is productivity on the farm, productivity in the factory, productivity in the, look, let me tell you, government should now put together the money Davido, Burma Boy, and these guys, Wizkid, the dollars they are making, Nigerians should harness them. These are the owners of the millions of dollars now.
Because they pay them huge to perform.
Although we have to patronize them, we have to market them, we have to promote them, and we are lucky for one thing. That is why, for me, the size of Nigeria, which some people think is too big, is our unique selling point.
Yes.
It is what can get us, because if a Ghanaian releases the same record that the video released, by the time we buy 50 million, they will still be buying 2 million, 3 million. So these are the things that we need to do on the supply side in order to increase the supply of the. On the demand side, we have to campaign against this consumption pattern. We have to, right from Tinubu try to reduce those who will go abroad, those who will stay. That's a step in the right direction. The House of Assembly should announce tomorrow because of the noise.
Made in Nigeria.
Yes, made in Nigeria. Let me tell you, if they start it, that's why I say I won't also allow the leaders to go scot-free in the old quagmire.
All right.
They should catalyze the movement of Nigeria in a positive direction. And let me tell them, it's either they do it, look, that 160 billion jeep, who can take it to his village? Who among them? What are you? And you can get bulletproof in Ijebu-Ode. Let us all, especially those in government, let them say, let me sacrifice this. One of the House of Assembly was saying, but I have this type of thing. If for heaven's sake you have this type of
Why do you need it again?
Why can't you sacrifice it for the people?
All right, Prof.
You said you want to go to the constituency to do constituency
project.
You are not going with what is that pickup van. to go to the village, you are going with a Prado Jeep. So on the demands, that is on the supply side.
right.
Increase oil production, then we have to do a little fine barrel
All right.
to get cash. AFDP is giving them, and the central bank is doing well. Then on the demand side is the one I said we have to talk to ourselves to stop demanding for dollars. We have dollarized the economy to the extent that they want to do something, they will be demanding dollars for something that NAIRA could do.
Okay,
so all of this, we know what to do.
Prof.
But it's not talking, we should do it.
All right, we have less than 2 minutes to go. Chairman?
Let me say this. The demand and supply in Nigeria is extremely very high.
That is true.
So you need to work extra hard to narrow down the gap. Number two, if you look at from 1999 to where we are today, how many years on the stretch? So it's not about the semantics of who is who and who is blaming who. We are responsible for the mess. We used to feed ourselves before. You have just categorized the exchange rate, the fluctuation from the military to where we are today. Number two, there's the need to restructure this system. Nigeria is so endowed. It's one of the best, richest country on earth. We must restructure. We must allow states to develop their infrastructure, their own mineral resources, take care of their bill, pay percentage to the federal. Otherwise, we'll be completely stranded. This protocol of land issue, that would hinder state from developing and enriching the states.
They should break it.
They have to break it. The National Assembly primary duty is to do it. I'm happy they are dealing with the local government issue. I'm happy they are taking away the State Electoral Commission issue. But the point is that the State Assembly, being influenced by the governors, will hardly endorse what the National Assembly have done. So, but it takes the mindset of Nigerians to say, look, enough is enough. We don't need bloodshed in this country. But we can all organize ourselves and say, no, this cannot continue.
All right.
We need a peaceful, respectful revolution through presentation of issues, talking issues, to make sure that government listened and the National Assembly have the power to legislate over issues.
Thank you
must
so
do that
much.
efficiently in a patriotic way.
Thank you so much. We'll be speaking with the national chairman of the Social Democratic Party, Shehu Gabam. Thank you so much. We appreciate. And Professor Osamo Dewumi is a university don. He's from the Lagos State University. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we'll continue to talk Nigeria and also find a way to balance the equilibrium in this country for us to live a better life. Until tomorrow, okay, if we return tomorrow, 10 p.m. Saturday. We may not be here tomorrow, so we'll be returning on Saturday. Follow me on X, formerly Twitter, @EG.